I got you live.
Okay, we just gotta. All right, there we go. Oh, let me put this on mute. Okay, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay.
Can chats hear
Hello,
us?
everyone. Yeah. Um, push number one if you guys can hear me. Good morning, Love and Patrick. Yes, I can. Okay. Well,
Yes.
today we're gonna talk about GMOs and hopefully some other more stuff. I appreciate you guys all coming. Spend your time on Friday morning. So I have one, and we're gonna go into GMOs. So one, tell me about what you think about GMOs. I know you work a lot around GMOs. Okay.
Okay. Um, I'm sorry. I'm trying to
It's
get
okay.
these
It's okay.
situated. I had to turn
Uh,
down OBS and
well, I could start until you get going. My thoughts about GMOs is that GMOs has started way years back. We just never realized what was in our food, especially our cereal, where our children are eating, cereal, even adults. But GMO does go way back. Just has chemtrails, just has fluoride, and I know one you work in the plant that has GMOs. Yes, Patrick, they are adding more and more in the United States. I agree. So are you set on your channel one? So we'll stream at the same time, you guys. But yeah, GMOs,
okay.
huh?
I had to turn OBS off because it was double in my
In your channel.
ears, so I had to turn off my OBS. I can't stream it and hear you and then hear it twice.
Yeah, it is hard. I know.
Uh-uh. I turned off my channel.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
had to turn it off on my channel, so I sent a link out to your channel. I hope people that go there come over here.
right. But yeah, going back to GMO, I know you work in a
Yes.
plant that has GMOs. One, explain to us what do you feel in this plant? What are your thoughts are? And
Uh, well, in the plant, so if we're just going to talk about the plant right now, so I work in a very large, I actually contract for, I do not work for this company, but my company contracts in one of the biggest GMO plants it's worldwide. Um, and the things that I see when I walk through there is, it's definitely changed my mind about how they do this. So they have all these different laboratories, throughout the plant, and most of them are centers, so you're never going to find them if you were to try to walk through and find these things. They do that for terroristic reasons. And all of these terrible chemicals, they have them all over lining the shelves, and they're experimenting. And there's certain labs that are simply for experimentation to see what effects this chemical will have in the food. Will it hold it longer as a processed food? Will it harm humans? Which I don't think they really give a crap if it harms humans. And as well as doing livestock. I've never seen the livestock, but I've heard them. I've heard animals throughout different areas of the plant, which I don't go to those areas because I'm not accessed to get into them. So um, we go wherever my cleaning crew is going to be cleaning different areas. And so we see labs, we see, clean rooms, we see experiment rooms, we see all that stuff.
Mhm.
Also, the conditions in the plant is what really concerns me. So, our foods get processed in these plants, obviously, and then it comes out. So, this plant is like the second step of the process. So, they grow the food, which they grow their own foods. They have tons of um, fields out there, and then they bring it in and they begin the process. So they break it down and they grind up the corn and they grind up the soybeans, and it ends up in a dust. And so the conditions are that this dust is just basically all over the ground and in big, huge piles. I've took recordings that are illegal for me to do, so I don't want to air
Mhm.
them live. But I've shown people in back chats, what the conditions are, trying to get them to realize this is what we're eating. So these plants, they're old. They have massive amounts of pipes, underground pipes, networks, all kinds of different things. They're also generating power to the entire east side of my town. But the stuff sits on the ground. These pipes break a lot. They break a lot
Mhm.
and the plant floods. So
Yep.
when it floods, all of this corn dust and soybean dust and what they've ground up is just kind of floating along in the flood water. People are walking through it. Flies cover it. It's an insane amount of flies. Like, I can't even describe how many flies are on this food. And when
Mm,
there's
yeah.
flies, there's poop and puke. We all know that's what flies
Mhm.
do. So all of this is all over our food, including people driving across it with their fork trucks. I walk across it with my nasty boots. Um, and then they process it. They say the heat kills it, which I came from food industry. I understand that heat can kill it, but can it really kill that much? And not to mention the rats. So the rats that I've seen through the plant, oh my God, they're scary. Um, they're as big as raccoons. Like, I'm not kidding. I'm not exaggerating. I've seen them. They're huge. So if one of these guys gets caught up in the process of the grinding or whatever, well, the USDA says that America and most states are allowed to have a certain percent of, DNA in the food. So it doesn't
Mhm.
matter. We eat it. This is the stuff we're eating. Their conditions are beyond disgusting. Um, at the other plant, they process oil and oils, cooking oils and stuff, and flours. So they do a process called
Yeah.
bleaching. So they bleach the flours and stuff like that. Well, when they do that, they actually dump it on the ground outside, and then just they drop a bunch of this chemical on it that then, after a little bit of time, turns the product white. So it goes from black to white. So they've bleached it. Um,
Yeah.
and it's outside on the ground. I mean, this is where this happens. Then they scoop it back up, put it in a vat, take it inside, and process it. And I've seen them do this. And this is what we eat. This is the foods we eat. So that's the conditions in the plant that I see, which again is one of the biggest in the world, and it's sent all over the world.
Yeah, it's so sad that we've been eating GMOs for a long time, and
Hmm.
we see it increasing every day, basically every day in our foods, in our baby food, and it's sad because they're eating it um, in their cereals. So
Hmm.
we already have GMOs in our system, like it or not. We have fluoride in our system. We have chemtrails, but
Yep.
the GMOs, if I remember and recall it correctly, that our bananas used to have seeds in them, the good seeds. And now, because it's GMO, we don't have that. Same thing has watermelon and fruit and veggies. It looks so different.
Hmm.
I had some carrots not long ago that, of course, I eat a lot of carrots that were very big. I mean, big. And it's like, oh, this is GMO. And you see our fruit so big. you know. And if they're the original, like say oranges, grapefruits, or citrus, um, if they're small, is because it has no GMO, and plus chemtrails are killing it as well, our trees. So yeah, we have a problem with GMOs big time, and
Yeah.
you imagine us doing the same way with the animals are being fed GMOs. Now, I know I was reading something about our real good seeds. We know that our government's hiding our good seeds. In India, Manasano, of course, you know who he is. He's giving the ranchers, farmers, to plant GMO food. Yeah, they're recently barely finding out about the GMOs being used on the farmers.
Hmm.
So there's no chaos right now in India about the GMOs, which is, I can understand where they're coming from. And one lady, she did suicide because of the GMOs, because she knew, she just found out about the GMOs that she was planting these
Hmm.
seeds. You know, it's very
Um,
important.
Another thing about the farmers, since the GMO is called novel life, um, the companies, they're novel life forms. The companies, they can get patents on these foods and these seeds,
Hmm.
and then the result is even if the farmers their field becomes contaminated, say from the pollen drifting over from a neighboring field, um,
Hmm.
the GMO companies now have the right to sue these local farmers.
Yeah,
It's
I heard about
insane.
that.
Yeah, it's
It is,
insane.
yeah.
So a lot of people, they might not even know what GMO foods are. So GMO foods are produced from organisms that have changes introduced to their DNA using genetic engineering methods. So what that allows is new traits, as well as the greater control over the traits that they want to come out when compared to other methods, you know. And they can do selective breeding or mutation. They can, combine any two foods they want and make it to what they want and bring out certain traits they want to shine in these products, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And there's like 10 that I do not support, but I'm just going to name four. The increase of the allergies, the GMO does that too. The same as chemtrails. The antibiotics resistance, which, like, if I'm sick, the antibiotics won't help you because of the GMOs and because of the
Hmm.
chemtrails. Number three is the problem of the endocrine system, and the four is reproductive system issues. So if the way I see it, the system, it can be our our body, our system, our organs that we're trying to fight with these antibiotics, or fight has natural herbs, and it's very hard to fight them because the GMOs everywhere, every in our food. You know, you planting seeds in the farmers, it's GMOs. When you pick the veggies or the fruit, it has GMO plus it has chemtrails. So we're getting a double wham on these GMOs. So, you know, there's also some other problems that we're having that can kill you from GMOs as well, which I think, if I'm correct, it can be potatoes or plant poisoning occurs when you eat, you know, our potatoes. You have sprouts. You have, of course, potato plants. You have Solane, I think that's how you pronounce it. It's a dangerous nerve toxin that is produced in any green part of the potato. That
Hmm.
includes leaves, stem, and any green part. So if everybody likes the potatoes that are a little green when you know when you peel it, well now we have to be careful because it has GMOs. And then there's a tropical fruit that is a native to the West Africa, which is a natural fruit in Jamaica, where it's also known as a toxin content. So And so these two, which is, I think I'll pronounce them right, hopefully, it's hypoclysine, I think, B and A are both found as well toxin for our bodies. People are getting sick in Jamaica and vomiting and sickness. I've been, because I've been throwing up too, but I don't know if it's a flu, but like it's allergies. And how can we clean our toxin? It's natural herbs if it has chemtrails. Explain to me one a little bit what you think. What I just said. I mean, I agree, but what do you think?
Well, I think a whole lot. When we talk about the chemicals and stuff like that, and how does it affect us, and how does it affect our environment, I mean, I have a whole lot to say. So, I mean, I took a whole lot of notes. So, let me just start with the environment. How about that?
Go
So,
ahead.
80% of GMO crops are designed to have a herbicide tolerance. Okay. So, as a result, the toxic herbicides such as Roundup have increased 15-fold. In 2015, they realized that the herbicide, which the main ingredient is glyphosate, okay, which is the biggest key ingredient in Roundup, is also oh, it's carcinogenic. So, what's carcinogenic? Because I didn't know till I looked all this stuff up, but that substance promotes the formation of cancer. This could be due to the ability to damage the genome or to disrupt the cellular metabolic process in us. Common examples that contain this carcinogenic, and if I'm pronouncing that wrong, I apologize, but common
Mhm.
examples that hold that ingredient are asbestos, certain dioxins, and nowadays tobacco smoke because they've put these ingredients in
It's sad.
tobacco as well. And that's why
Mhm.
people are getting cancer. They're not getting cancer from the tobacco. They're getting cancer from the chemicals used to treat the tobacco plants. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
and since these effects aren't immediate, they don't immediately affect us, and we don't just drop over dead. It's really hard to pinpoint what the cause of these cancers are, and therefore the companies are just staying free of the blame. They're not being held accountable or responsible for this stuff. Also, the GMO crops are responsible for the emergence of superweeds and superbugs, which
Mhm.
then again can't be killed with anything except something more toxic than, say, the Roundup. So
Mhm.
they're using stuff like 2 and 4D, which is a major ingredient in the chemical called Agent Orange. Agent Orange was used in wars, as a chemical warfare. My stepfather was exposed to Agent Orange, and he never drank, he never smoked cigarettes, and he passed away of prostate cancer. Um, and the doctor even said that it could have very well been his exposure to Agent Orange that got him cancer. You
Mhm.
know, um, Nowadays, direct GMOs are just a direct extension of the chemical agriculture. They're developed and sold by the largest chemical companies, such as the Roundups and the Monsantos with the seeds, and they're all in cahoots. This company I work for just had the DuPonts down as a brand new client. So tell me, why is the biggest GMO company in the world joining up with the biggest chemical makers? You got to ask
Yeah,
questions. You got to look into this stuff and figure out why. Well, why? Well, we're telling you why.
yeah,
They're all in
true.
cahoots. So,
Mhm. You know,
um,
the plans that they've been doing for years, like I was saying earlier, it's exceeding very, in other words, it's going faster than anything else. Our chemtrails or fluoride. GMOs in our vaccines, they're pushing it so fast that it's being let me see how I can explain it, because we know the truth already, and they're trying to stop us from speaking about it.
Right.
I think the GMOs, even though we try to get away from it, our food, the seeds in our fruit, the bad seeds, and a lot of people good for you, but to be honest, we're not 100% sure it's good for you. Even though you eat healthy, you try to get away from eating your meats, your veggies. All you eating is veggies and whatever. In other words, being a vegan, it doesn't stop you from the or the chemtrails. It doesn't stop you, but we still do the intake in our bodies with it.
Right.
But we're still taking the intake. The less we eat, make the system. But there's no way to go around it. Like I say, healing plant probably take, but will it? We don't know because of the chemtrails. So
Yeah.
it's terrible
And
about our
it's all
GMOs.
connected. It's all connected. So when you guys go to the stores, unfortunately, about
Mm-hmm.
75% of the food there contains certain ingredients that are GMO'd. So let me read a long list of
Right.
things that I found, just so everybody can read the ingredients and be aware that these ingredients are GMO'd. They are. It's a fact, and there's ways we can avoid, but first we need to be aware of what it is we need to avoid before we can avoid it, and we're not taught these things
Yeah.
in everyday life. But
Cut you off. But before heavy metal says those who have children should be most concerned, which I agree. We should be concerned of our children and their children because they're, like I said, they're pushing it very hard, and this is a generation that they're going speed ahead on
well,
everything.
I agree with that because children are our future, but it's important for us to be here too, because who's going to raise those children if we don't make it into their adulthoods? It's
Exactly.
going to be the governments. That's who it's going to be. It's going to be the governments that are the ones trying to kill us. The same with the grandmas and grandpas, the older folks of the world. It's important for them to be here because that's how generations forget truths. I found that out from doing all the other research that we all do. You take out a couple generations and you're down to the kids. And they learn what they're taught. And if they're taught by our governments, they're going to not know the truth about things. So it's important for all of us to um, learn this so we can, one, protect ourselves to be here longer, and two, teach the children before we leave this world.
Broken away.
I'm sorry. Um, so yeah, it's important that we survive also, and it is important for the children, but someone's got to be around to teach them. That was the point. Someone's got to teach them because the government's not going to. If we don't make it, they get control of the children. Um, so
And
when you go to the store, read the ingredients. Look for things like this, and this is kind of a long list, so I'm just going to read through it. And everyone, take down notes. Look it up for
you know
yourself.
what
This what? Hello?
breaking up a little.
I'm breaking up.
Mhm.
Why? I turned everything off.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say.
Okay. I shut all the stuff down besides this window.
No,
um, can you hear me now? Am I still breaking up?
yeah, I'm here. One. Uh,
Okay. Am I
Are you
still
still
breaking?
there?
Yeah. Am I still breaking up? I am breaking up?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Any
anybody that knows about GMO, we're responsible to teach our children. Yeah, I can hear you.
okay. So the ingredients to look for, okay? So look for ingredients that contain amino acids, the synthetic
Um,
form of amino acids. Um,
no, when you're not.
okay.
Uh,
Um, should I rejoin? Can you hear me?
okay.
Okay. So the ingredients to look
They're
for
like
on the
parents
packages,
that.
the ingredients that we need to really look for on the packages is amino acids, synthetic forms of amino acids, okay? Aspartame, that's a huge one. Um, ascorbic acids, it's a synthetic form of vitamin C. We also need to look for sodium ascorbate, citric acids, sodium citrate, ethanol, natural and artificial
Yeah.
flavorings, high fructose corn syrup, hydrolyzed vegetable proteins, lactic acids, maltodextrins, molasses, monosodium glutamate, sucrose, textured vegetable protein, xanthan gums, vitamins and yeast products. Okay. And 75% of our foods in our stores contain these ingredients. These are GMO ingredients. So, and some of the most common foods, you said some of them earlier, they're soy. And this isn't just soybeans. These are any products made using um, these other products. So soy, corn, canola, sugar beets, cotton, Hawaiian papayas, zucchinis, yellow summer squash, and alfalfa sprouts. I mean, that's a lot of foods, and if you think about it, a lot of those foods are the base foods of other foods.
Yeah.
So, also, um, when you're shopping, how do we avoid getting GMO foods?
Yeah, I agree.
So if we're going to shop
Um,
and we want to,
these castor beans, rhubarb leaves. uh, Keep going, man.
okay, sorry. So how do we avoid getting GMO foods? So when we shop, we want to try to buy 100% organic foods or grow our own foods if we have that opportunity and raise our own livestock if we can get that opportunity. I know living in cities, it's hard to do stuff like that, especially if you possibly are a renter and not an owner of your home. A lot of landlords don't want you to grow your own foods. However, you can always use the bucket system, so you don't tear up people's yards. You can grow foods out of buckets. It's possible and it works, and it would be your own stuff. Also, when you go to the store, look at the PLU numbers on the foods. I didn't know this, so this is kind of new for me, but I did just learn it. If you look at the PL numbers on the backs of like fruits and vegetables and a lot of the products, you'll see the little 4 or 5 digit codes and their little numbers, right? So we've all seen those. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so if it's a 4 digit number, the food has a possibility of being GMO or not being GMO. Okay, and mind you, these numbers are not required at all. They're optional to the stores. So one good way is we can all push that they have to put these numbers on the foods. That's one good way for us to be able to identify if it's a GMO food or not. So if it's a 4 digit number, it could be, could not be. So you might want to research it before you buy it. If the food has a 5-digit PLU number on it, and it begins with an 8, okay, so a 5-digit number that begins with an 8, it is definitely a GMO food for sure. And if it's a 5-digit number that begins in a 9, it's not a GMO food. It is not a GMO food at all. Okay, but like I said, these labels aren't required by the grocery stores. They're not, and we need to push for it to be required because it would give us a better opportunity to check out our fruits and vegetables and see if they've been GMO produced. And also, you want to look for grass-fed meats and free-range meats. You know that they are available. Unfortunately, they're a little more expensive, and but it's worth it. You know, or like I said, if you could find a way to raise your own and let them be free-range. Yeah, you want to buy from your local farmers. You know, this gives you an opportunity to actually speak to the farmer, find out how they feel about GMOs and GMO seeds, and you can flat out ask them if they use GMO seeds, or you can just speak to them about the subject and get a feel. Do you think they use GMO seeds? And
Yeah.
also buy whole foods. Buy whole foods and break it down yourself to cook your meals instead of buying the pre-processed foods. The processed foods are more than likely to contain most of these ingredients that I just read. So that's how we can avoid it.
Can you hear me one?
Yeah, I can hear you. You seem a little cutty outy,
I'm gonna
but
get on my phone. I'm having problems.
okay.
Yeah, hold on.
Okay.
Out of this one. It's not letting. Let's see if I. Can you hear me better? Can
Yeah.
everybody hear me? Uh, uh, okay, let's do. Okay, I don't know.
I can hear you
Something went
now.
wrong.
Now you're not cutting out.
Okay. I don't know. Something's weird with my laptop for some reason. Um, but yeah,
Cause
you know, our GMOs. There's we're responsible, okay, to teach our children, and if we have grandchildren as well. As an adult, we're responsible to teach them. And the reason why is that they need to understand how much GMOs that the school system is serving to our children. You know, we haven't have we thought of that? Have we thought, you know, the school system giving it to them in their
mm,
pizzas, in their burritos, in their whatever they're eating, GMOs are in it. Which do you think one that our school system knows about it? Will they do
um,
something about it?
I don't know if the school system actually is aware, but the people providing the food to the schools, they know. I'm sure
Mm-hmm.
they know. You know, these companies, they know what ingredients. They've done their research. They have entire research teams um, that look into this kind of stuff and how does this affect.
Mm-hmm. Maybe this is why when they said about allergies, I can see all these, and even adults, but more the children going through all these allergies. You know, we all think it's a flu or, you know, just an infection, whatever the case may be. But a lot of it's our GMOs that we eat that is making our hormones differently, are being angry, being sad, all our emotionals mixes into this GMO and the chemtrails. So you see these children with all these allergies, and the parents go, well, they're allergies. Let's take them to the doctor. And there's another thing on top of that, which is we all know it's vaccine. But it's we're responsible. One, you as a mother, you and a grandmother, you're responsible to let them know. Even if your children come against you and saying they're all BS, but you're still responsible as an adult to let your children and grandchildren know. And this is where it's very hard and difficult for us as adults to communicate with children because they go by what the school system said or by what our government is saying. So basically, it's given us a hard time to get through them to them.
And that's why I feel it's our responsibility as the adults of, we are in our prime of our adulthood, most of us. Some may be younger, but us being the adults that are supposed to be running things now and teaching the young, it is our responsibility. And it's also our responsibility to start questioning the schools, start questioning, why are you feeding my child this? And it has all of these ingredients that are very known to be GMO and known to cause this effect, and this effect. We need to ask that. And we also need to start
Mm,
protesting against our grocers that they label this stuff. If it's GMO, it needs to be labeled that that's what it is. If it's a free range or a organic product, it needs to be labeled as such. And for our fruits and vegetables, these PLU numbers are very important. And, some grocers, they're not made to put those on there. I've been to grocery stores where I have seen the PLU numbers on the fruits and vegetables, and I've been to others where they're not labeled. Um, I would, now that I know this, I'm definitely only going to buy the products that have the PLU numbers for my fruits and vegetables and the ones that aren't GMO'd. And we're not taught these things, and we need to learn these things on our own because our government's not going to tell us these things. That's not their agenda. Their agenda is wipe out the older people so they can take control of the children and they can make the world what they want it to be. That's the agenda, period. And if that doesn't work, wipe us all out. You know, Either way, they don't want us to live past a ripe age. They don't want us to live into our retirement, and they don't want us to teach our children. That's why they've taken control and they force these children to go to school. In some states, it's so hard to homeschool your child that a lot of people
mm,
give up. They just don't have the time or the energy to spend fighting the system to be able to keep their child at home. It's your child. We have rights. We made them. They're ours. Period.
right,
That's it.
right.
Doesn't matter. And I'm not
Mister,
talking
the
in a form
reason,
of, sorry.
well, the reason why they want to get rid of the elderlies and probably in the 50s, 60s, people age is because we were taught how to survive in the wilderness. We are the ones that know a lot more than the ones that are in the 20s. I thank God I was raised, to live off of the land. But there's children today that don't want to listen to the parents, um, how to survive. But again, the government has a lot to do with it. Now, if you really go back in years, how our government passed the law that our parents can hit our children, um, because that was the first agenda, that was the first step. So if a child gets hit, well, I'm going to call, someone that you're hitting me. This is where it starts, where the children doesn't respect a parent or someone older. And just like us, my generation, yours, we were taught people that are older. But see, the reason why they want to take a lot of us out of this world is because again we could teach them how to survive, because it's going
Mhm.
to come to a point that they're going to have to learn, because technology is not going to be there forever. We know that. And these children that are growing up, that are being born, that are in the 20s, if they don't get together, their minds together basically with their parents, they're going to be totally lost. loss because they're so into the technology. And this is where I'm trying to fight with, others, parents to teach their children, like my niece and nephew. They know about a lot of stuff, and it's because it's my responsibility as an adult to teach them. I don't want them to be brainwashed. I don't want them to eat so much junk food because that's where it's at. Our GMOs are also in our junk food. So if way we try to get away, we're still there, but we're responsible. And yeah, they want to, as an adults, they want us to pass on because they don't want us to tell them how to survive. That's my intake, and I've been on it for a while. How I take it with the GMOs and the rest of the stuff, the chemtrails, the fluoride, and the vaccines. And of course, there's more on top of that. Not just that, there's more that be distracted by flat Earth, by these mRNA. These are just distractions to the what really is happening in this world through our governments. So that's my intake, and I will always stand on it because it is, to me, it's true. You know,
I agree.
I don't
And
know.
not only that, but they just distract the public in general. Let's get everybody hyped up over a stupid football game or some kind of a sports event, and they're too busy worrying about their teams and they're not worrying about what's going on. Oh, let's just go grab a quick dinner so we can watch the game. And then you end up eating processed crap, you know? And that's how society is. Society has moved into a world of quickness and convenience rather than taking the time to, possibly grow your own food, make your own food, cook your foods from scratch. And we don't have time to do that. That's part of the design as well. Most people work full-time jobs. Some people work two full-time jobs, and that's the way they want it. They want us so busy trying to survive that we're not surviving properly. We're not teaching our children anything. Our children are left in the care of daycares and babysitters and the school systems, and they're only learning what they're taught. And if they're not being taught anything at home, they're being taught what they're being taught at these schools and government facilities and babysitters. And a lot of babysitters, they're younger. Um, they're not, they're just not educated anymore. No one's really educated on what's important.
Mm-mm. We get educated in different areas, but not the real cause of what's going on now, like we were mentioning earlier. But, again, it falls in our laps to teach the children and their friends too, because you know how they come over and they play with like with my niece and nephew or with your children and grandchildren. I mean, we can let them know. Sometimes they'll probably go to their parents and say, this is what this person said and blah blah. And you always have to say research it because a lot of times they don't take my word, right? They don't take it and
Right.
what we're saying. So I
Yeah.
direct them to research it.
And
It's very important for us to let them know.
you might get a rise out of the parents if you do that, but the child will remember that. Especially if the parents get a rise out of you telling them information that they might not be sharing with their children. The children will remember that. And when they get older, they're going to look into this stuff. If you think about when we were all children, somebody said something that, influenced you in some way, I'm sure. And whether or not your parents agreed with it, it may have stuck in your mind. And as you got older, you probably thought about that idea more. And, um, me personally, I did, and I looked into that stuff as I grew up and could understand what they were trying to say. It just a little seed, plant little seeds in these children's minds. You know, there's not a need to be nasty about it or anything with the parents because a lot of parents they get very upset if you try to educate their children nowadays. They don't want their children to
Yeah,
be educated by anyone except the system. They believe in the system. They
exactly.
don't believe our governments are lying to us. They don't think our governments are poisoning us. They think everything's just hunky freaking dory, and it's not. It's a nightmare. This world
Mhm.
is a nightmare. And no, there aren't communities anymore, so it's really hard to get your information into these children. Everyone keeps to themselves. There aren't communities, there aren't villages, there aren't neighborhoods anymore that parents can talk to the other children openly and freely. That's for fear, I
Mhm.
understand, of how the world has become, and there's a lot of evil people, but not all of us are evil. Some of us really want what's best.
Mhm. You imagine our school system, our hospitals, you name it, they're all involved with this GMO that the the farmers are saying this and this and that about GMO, but they're part of it. Like it or
Right.
not, they're part of it. But also has a farmer that I know, they have to go by the standards, by the rules, the regulations of the government. You got to do this, or else we're going to shut your farmer,
That's
your
right.
planting your seeds, whatever it is.
That's
Same thing with the doctor, you gotta, you got to do this, you won't, we take your license away. So, like, to the wall, they can't do nothing. They want to help people, but at the same time, they can't because they're afraid of losing their license. There are doctors and that will help out because they're not agreeing to the regulations of our government in the United States. I'm saying the whole world, all the countries. They have to go by rules, take it or leave it, Of course, many will take it.
right.
So a lot of the farmers, they don't have a say so. They don't have a voice, basically, because that's what they live on is the land and to support their families.
No one has a voice anymore. It's all government regulated. We have so many freaking regulations in America. It would take you so long to read through them and understand all of them. The doctors, they're owned by the insurance companies. I wouldn't trust most doctors.
Mhm.
The insurance has the final say. I've seen people that needed
Yeah.
a test to see if they had cancer, and the insurance would not approve the test because it was too expensive, and the person still has not received the testing that they need to see if they even have the cancer, to see if about treatment, or if they need to fix something in their self or whatever they were planning on doing.
Yeah.
They're
Um,
talking about in chat being how
it's a
they're talking in chat about schools and how they were caned. I disagree with that fully. I think that it's up to the parents to punish the children. I don't believe in sparing the rod. It says in the Bible, spare the rod, spoil the child. And I don't believe that's a stick either, or a cane. But I do believe that it's up to the parents to punish the children when they need punished and teach them the lessons that they need to learn, not the schools. The schools don't give a shit. They just, in a sense, they're abusing these children. They're abusing their minds. They're abusing their bodies. They're breaking them
Mhm.
down. They're making them submissive. In my state, they're not allowed to strike the child now unless the parent signs a consent form, which is good. Back when I was in school, they were allowed to take us into the office, and they had a great big paddle and it had holes in it, and they called it the Green Hornet, and it was the scariest thing I've
I
ever heard
remember.
about. Yeah, and it was painted green. I never had to have it, but I sure did see it hanging on from his wall, and believe me, that's intimidating. You don't want to speak your mind as a child. That's very scary. You're afraid if you say something wrong, you're going to get the whack. And that in turn makes us submissive beings, and we're submissive, and we will bow down and do whatever we're told to avoid
Yeah.
getting the whack. It starts at a young age to control our minds. Oops, 1 second, sorry, go on.
Mhm. Exactly. I agree. that wooden paddle they call it. I remember
I'm sorry, you're cutting out, and I'm
I
back.
remember my friend's parents. They used to say when they got into trouble, all the teachers used to paddle them with the wooden paddle, which is sad because it's supposed to be one teacher, but it was all the and I think she said it was the seventh graders they were paddling. And then to the office, you get another paddle. Then you have another belt waiting for you, right? You know, I don't know if you heard me, but I was saying that my friends' parents, their parents, used to get the paddle, and the teachers, all of them, seventh grade, all the seventh grade teachers will spank your bottom with your wooden paddle, and then you get it in the principal, and then you get it. That's what I was just saying. A lot of paddling, right? You know, whoops, you can say, oh, you can't even touch these children, not do anything, or they're doing something, or if they're correct or not, they still include the parents, you know. So they've done so much stuff to this taking the rights of the parents. Now with my niece and nephew, I punish them, but the only way I can punish them is electronics or not hanging around with their friends. That is the punishment they get because them is most important than the paddle. So if you take the phones away, that's whatever electronic they have, you're going to punish them. And let me
You
tell
know,
you, that helps. It
when
does
my
help.
when my kids were being
It's
raised,
not going to get you nowhere being washed, you
right?
know, no matter what.
When my kids were being
So
raised,
I was going to ask you, and I totally forgot.
when my
My
kids were
God,
being
I forgot
raised,
what hopefully it comes back.
electronics weren't as big as they are now. When my kids were little, what I found worked was making them write sentences. They hated it. Oh, they hated it. But it was effective because they didn't want to write those sentences again. So if they did something, I would start out and make them write 25 sentences saying, I will not do this. And if they did it again, it jumped to 50. If they did it again, which was rare, it went up to 75. I did have one instance where I had to stand over
Right.
one of my daughters and make them write 75 sentences, and it took hours. But I was patient and I
Yeah,
stuck with it, and they learned their lesson. They did not do that again. And it was effective, and I didn't have to even put my hands on them. The rod doesn't always have to be a beating or a lashing. The rod can
exactly.
just be the sternness and the patience that it takes to be a parent. And I'm not a perfect parent. I made many mistakes. I think all parents do. We grow with our children, but we have to stay on it. We can't just give up because it was a bad day or we have a stubborn child. Because if we give up, somebody else is going to take over and they're going to learn everything the wrong way.
Exactly. I agree.
Yeah.
You know, I really agree. So yeah, to for us to watch on the labels. Oh, that's what I was gonna say. On the labels of these behind the boxes, cereal, whatever, they should put big letters GMO or organic. Because to be honest, organic, what you're buying is just the name, organic. That's how I feel. You know, you're spending so much money on, say, on a banana, and it compared to the other bananas, you know, and they're saying it's organic, but it's not. If you open the banana, okay, and if you don't see no seeds, then it's not organic. It's GMO. And this is there was a study in the university in the East Coast that this man said that the organic is just has it's the same as a regular banana, and they said the only thing they're selling is the name organic. It's not healthy. It's just the same old, right? GMOs and chemtrails. I said it way back. How can you be organic if there's one field it's organic and the other field is chemtrails? So what's the difference? You're still getting the chemtrails over your your veggies or your fruit, no matter what,
Hmm.
you know. So
Well, you could
this,
always, if you're going to grow your own garden, you can place a tarp or tent over it for some of the day and, maybe the nights or whatever. I mean, I know it's still going to get hit with it, and I know we have to remove it to get sunlight, but it would protect it to a point if you could enclose it in like a greenhouse, or even if you don't have that capability, one of those backyard tents would work for night times. After the sun goes down and it gets its adequate sunlight, it would somewhat protect the plants from being bombarded with that stuff. um, but again, this is their plan. They want to destroy us, and they have taken our air, they've destroyed our water, they've destroyed our foods. They're putting poison in us.
mhm.
They're dropping poison on us, and they're brainwashing our children. The future looks pretty bleak to me.
How do we, mhm.
Sorry, you cut out. What?
I mean, okay, going back with the as they're eating GMO. Hold on. My earphone, or it's my laptop. But how do we know? Okay, the seeds that you're talking about, house or something to protect. The seeds are stones. We still have them. So where's the good supplement? It has it. So we're eating GMOs. We're planting GMOs. So I mean, there's no way out of it, no matter what. You have to eat, you have to survive. So, and they know that. They know we have to survive, and the chemtrails is also killing us little by little, and it's falling our food too. So we get a double wham on our food, supply. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we do. And that would be important too. I mean, to definitely look into where's the source of these seeds before you buy them. Seeds aren't expensive, and I know that it's hard for people nowadays to grow food, and it is all by design, like Luke said, absolutely. But even if you live in an apartment, okay, and you just have like a little back patio or, something, because that would be the smallest yard I can think of right now is an apartment, okay? Get buckets. You can get 5-gallon buckets, buy
Mhm.
some seeds that you've looked into, and buy some dirt, or dig the dirt out of the ground. I would probably suggest possibly buying it, but definitely read what's all in the dirt to make sure that you're not getting something and chemicals in that also. But you can easily put seeds into a bucket and grow food. And it might take up your patio, pull them out into the sunlight, pull them back in at night. It can be done. We just have to have the patience to do it.
I
Um,
know that in Amazon they sell these dwarf trees like lemon, oranges that you can put in your home, and you're constantly having these fruits, these citrus growing out of the whole year,
uh-huh.
but it's in your home, and they're called dwarf trees. So look up to that, y'all. In Amazon, they sell them, and I'm pretty sure it's the reason why, because of the chemtrails. So they're in
And
your home, they're more protected.
and another good way is if you do go out and buy organic foods and you've researched it and they're truly organic, take the seeds from those foods, reproduce from the organic foods. You don't even have to go out and buy seeds. You can obtain your own seeds. Or if you know a local farmer that does grow organically and he's not involved in the GMO process, try to obtain
Mm-hmm.
seeds from him, for a small garden or some buckets. It doesn't take digging the land to do it anymore. I mean,
Exactly.
that would be preferred, but then again, our lands are they're 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 full of this stuff too. Sorry,
Well, the
lost my train of
Hopi,
thought.
the Hopi tribes, what they do when they plant corn on their field, what they use, they eat so much of it, and the rest they cut it all up, and they use the good seed of the corn, and they plant it because someone asked them, well, how can you do that? because there's no rain, especially in Arizona. And they said they get the rain from above when it rains, and that's when they know to plant their crops. Now, if they plant way late in the crops, then what happens is that they don't grow. You know how the corn crops grow up so high, but the Hopi tribes, they said that's how they do with their corn, and that's their meal. They always eat corn, but they get the good seed and they save it for the next. They dry it up, right,
Yep.
and they save it for the next year. And that's what we do. Dry them up, put them in buckets for the next year's season, the good season without the GMOs.
Yep. I agree.
So yeah.
Yep. Obtain your own
Mhm.
seeds. I mean, it's very, very possible to do.
And I'm pretty sure you can find them. I'm pretty sure you can. If there's
Yeah.
more people aware, company. But this is a agenda that they've been planning for years and years, and it's finally here. More, they're pushing it more. In other words, and more to our children and the school system, which is sad. You know, our school system,
Well,
our
and
hospitals.
they make everything so sweet. You know, they add the aspartame to so many products that the children want to eat that stuff. They don't want to eat healthy. You know, they're
Right.
brainwashed. They don't even know what healthy food tastes like in some cases. You know, some
Mhm.
children don't have fruits and vegetables and stuff. Their parents throw them down with all the high fructose cereals and foods and snacks and the parents, you know, they don't even know what they're doing to their children in a lot of cases. They don't
Right.
understand the effects that this is going to have.
Yep, I
So,
agree. And again, I mean, maybe parents don't know what's going on either. They need to be educated as well. I mean,
mhm.
I think there should be classes over these GMOs, these chemtrails, these vaccine and fluoride. There should be classes so they can understand what's going on.
I agree. Um, Second.
So,
I agree 100%. Um, we need to talk about this stuff with other adults, and we need to talk to the children about it. We need to teach our children how to grow food, and if that means that we have to stop our worlds for a moment and learn something new, how to obtain these seeds, how to grow these seeds, and take the patience to teach our children how to grow, then that's what we
mhm,
need to do. You were very lucky to be able to learn from your people how to be raised on the land. A lot of people
mhm,
don't have that opportunity. I was raised in a city, and my mom wasn't very educated. I love her. She did a very good job, her best at raising me, but everything that I've learned, I've had to learn on self-education. My parents were so busy
yeah,
working that we were raised by babysitters. We were raised by daycare. We were
mhm,
raised by ourselves. You know, um, they both had to work full-time jobs. And at some points, my parents had to work, one of them had to work two jobs and the other one was still working their full-time job. And that's all part of the agenda, to make everything so hard to just survive that the parents have to step out to enable the survival of the family, and everybody else can step in to teach the children. And that's not the way it should be. That's not the way it should be.
exactly. Like I was watching a video prepackaged your frozen ones that are in that they sell. Look into what's in the back of the label. It has GMOs too, and a lot of sodium, of course. But there's also a danger in it as well with the wrappers. They have some kind of a coated chemical in it that we don't even know, and we're feeding it to our children. You can say like frozen pizzas, you can say frozen hot pockets, all this other stuff that the kids eat. These pre-packed on top of it, which is that plastic. It has more chemicals too that we need to study and research on it too, because now it's on our, wrappers. And the cardboard that's underneath also has chemicals. One is because of the color that's there, and then you have the GMOs, and then you have all this other chemicals on top of that. So I recommend everybody to research that. Like I said, we've been attacked supply. And let me tell you, our food supply, there will be more demand um, on our food supply more than ever than supplying it. There will be more demand. So, and this is what we're seeing now. There's more demand in our food supply, and that's why our prices are going up, for the same reason, and also because our wages are going up. So they're doing more demands on food supplies. If you understand what I'm saying, it's like demands and supply. There's two things. So I learned that too in school, but I see that too as well. Like looking the demands and the supplies. It's very important to know what they demand and what kind of supplies we can have on these demands. So it's very critical that you look into all that stuff that I'm saying right now, because in the pre-packages, it's all there. It's right in our eyes, in front of us, and we don't see that. Same thing when fast foods, we have it there, and everybody's always on fast foods. Try to stay away from that, because our GMOs are in there too. So it's crazy. So what do you think? When am I, have you heard about that or anything?
Um, well, just now. You But no, you're right. You're absolutely
Sorry.
right. That's good information. Absolutely. Um, this video was
Mhm.
very important to have made. We need to educate ourselves so that we can educate our children properly.
That's true. And
Yeah,
I'm still learning as an adult. I'm still learning. We all have, every day we learn something new.
exactly.
And
Exactly. And we don't have a lot of time to learn it in. We go through our
exactly.
childhood and we're innocent. We're not taught a lot of things we should know. We can change that as the adults. We can teach the children at very young ages how to hunt, how to grow, how to do, how to
Hmm.
make things, build a house, start a fire. Very simple things, but are very important to be able to sustain off grid, which that's how we all need to really, really try to achieve is off grid. If we get off the
Hmm.
grid, we can step away from the government and we can start communities that all have like minds. And that's the only way we're going to be able to
Hmm.
overturn these elite and the systems they put in place is actually doing something about it. We can sit around and talk all day, but we need to start making
Exactly.
goals to achieve communities that don't want to follow government standards, that want to live on their own and do their own thing. Grow their own foods, collect their own
Hmm.
rainwater for good water, good fresh water, um, to the best that we can. Because them seeding the skies and the clouds, I mean, that sure isn't giving us that pure water, but it's definitely not containing as much as tap water.
Like the people Amish, I think that's how you pronounce their names.
The
They
Amish,
always the Amish, that's right. Food, they know how to get their own water, and so on. Now the government's getting involved with them, that they have to go on grid, they have to do this, they have to do that, and they're fighting it because they're off the grid. They're like in the old times, they said that they're going just exactly how it was in the 1,000 years ago, where they do all their own farming. But now the government in the past 2 years, they've been fighting with them that they have to go on grid, and they're fighting against it. And they're
yeah,
stopping the water supply from them, irrigating their own crops, which is sad. But they're still fighting. still fighting, fighting as well,
Yeah.
and the
There's
family.
very there's very few
Hmm.
true Amish communities anymore. There are the Mennonites. I think that's what they're called. Those are an extension of the Amish, which they are on grid now. So they have the Amish religious beliefs and everything, but they have electricity and they live on grid, and they're allowed to do certain things that the Amish don't allow. The Amish really truly believe in purity of their bloodlines, purity
Hmm.
of their religion. They're not on grid. They don't have power. I've been to true Amish
Exactly.
communities and they do not have electricity. They live by sunlight, candlelight, lanterns. They
Hmm.
all, in the community I went to, you could tell it was an Amish home because they all had their curtains drawn back to one side, all exactly the same, all pulled off to the right and tied. And
Hmm.
and their homes had no power, like none. They
Yeah.
totally went solar, so a lot of them had solar panels to run different things. They're all natural, and
Hmm.
even though I may not agree with their, I don't follow their religion. I'm not saying I don't agree with it. I just don't follow it. But nothing wrong with it. They really stick to themselves. They are a true community. They're a community, and that's what
Exactly.
we need to get back to is we all do something to support our community. Some of them grow corn, some of them do this, some of them do this, some of them have the cows, some of them have the chickens. That's the way we need to get back to.
Yeah, I somebody was mentioning to me how in way back in those days in the 1900s how they swap cattle for say chicken, or they swap for something else, and little by little it started to get away from it, and this is where we have to go back to the basics, swapping and trusting, mainly trusting people, because nowadays you can't trust nobody. But
Right.
just by the word of mouth, that's how they shake their hands, is by the word of their mouth. Now it's like, forget it. You can't go by the words. But yeah, we got to go back to basics on all this. We really need to, because we were warned and we didn't take those warnings seriously whatsoever.
Nope.
Mm-mm.
Nope. Industry moved in and community moved out. It started to become about the money. And
Exactly.
once we evolved into the materialistic beings that our world has become, we de-evolved out of what was truly important, and that's people and being of one mind in a way. A community is sort of one conscience. They all rotate on the same kind of vibratory level if they're true to each other.
Mm-hmm.
They have
Yeah.
love, they have trust, they truly care about each other and each other's well beings. We don't have
Yeah.
that. I couldn't tell you what my
Mm-mm.
neighbors' names are. No idea. Nobody
I
wants
know.
to associate with each other anymore. No one wants to get to know with each other. There's a man down the road. He's handicapped and he walks with a cane up his stairs. He's in his little wheelchair and takes himself to the store in his little electric wheelchair. And probably no one even knows his name or who he is or why he's in his wheelchair. And no one helps. And I know a lot of people like that have pride, but a community should know these things and try to assist where they can assist.
Mm. And if you question yourself, like on these GMOs and the chemtrails and so on, you think of these children that are cancer. They have cancer. Even babies. Where do they get the cancer? Okay, in our food, our baby food. Unless you're breastfeeding, it's different. But if you're giving them food off like baby food, like those jars or those cereal boxes, all that has GMOs. Now, where do these kids get these cancer? Our government is destroying them too.
Right. That, and when they're born, they
Yeah.
they give them some kind of a shot at birth. I can't remember what it is. But what's in that shot? Why do you have to do that? They didn't ever do that before. Why does that have to be done now? Not to mention they start at such a tiny, tiny age with the vaccines. The vaccines are known to give them
Mm-hmm.
brain damage, learning disorders, cancers, behavioral
Yeah, I was.
problems, and they give them to them
Yeah.
steady. They're here. You have
Mm-hmm.
to have it again. Oh, wait, you have to have it again. Oh, it's been 2 months. You have to have it again. Then you get it
Exactly.
before you go into school. Then you get it before you go into middle school. Then you got to have it again before high school. Why? Why are they? Why? We have the ability from our mothers and ourselves to fight these diseases. We don't
Mm-hmm.
need vaccines. You know, most of the
No,
man-made
it's just
plagues
an ex.
most of the plagues have been man-made. They were put out to wipe out whatever population that they could wipe out, you know, for what? Maybe non-compliance, just because they get kicks out of it. I don't know the reasoning, but I know that it's happened and it's happening and it's happening again and it's going to continue to happen until we stop allowing them to run our lives.
Mm. Boy, that's a big battle that we all need to get together because just a few of us we can't win against our government. There's no way. And
Well,
if
I
we
think
do
these
speak out,
people building these communities together, like what Jimbo co-op communities. I think that's what he called them, where they all get together and they buy land and they build a community and they all have something they do to contribute. And they
yeah,
live that way. And people are starting these communities. They're building them. It's a matter of people having like minds, everyone contributing for the land, and everyone contributing to build the community together. It can,
exactly.
it can
Yeah.
happen.
Yep,
But
I agree.
so
Yeah, it's just so much chaos and so much information out there that we can be guided to, to take care of ourselves and what to eat. I mean, it's like going to school and you have to reteach yourself on these um, Agenda 21 that they're doing, that they're pushing. Now there's Agenda 30 just around the corner that they're pushing it too as well at the same time with the Agenda 21. Um, and we're already in that place of the Agenda 21. And this is where it's most important if you have neighbors and friends or families that are with you on the GMOs and all these other stuff, that we were spoken about. If they're with you, that they'll support you, like giving a tablet, information on it, where to go find it, ask questions with your teachers, if you're still in college or university, or even if you're in high school, ask questions, because they might not have the answer, but at least you're asking the questions. You might find a teacher that knows the answer, but she or he can't speak it, out loud because they have them in certain, what is a limit, what to speak about in their classes. Same thing as grade school. So it's just a matter of time when people are going to start getting together and say enough is enough, because it's affecting the babies, it's affecting little kids. And if people can't see that, it's sad because your kids might be in good health and stuff, but there's other kids that are not. And if we don't see that, then we're more blind than ever, not seeing what's in front of us. I don't know. I'm wide awake on these stuff because I sure want to teach my niece and nephew, and even my other niece and nephews, and my sisters to know all about this. I told my sister not long ago, and my oldest, and she didn't believe me. She looked at me like, "Yeah, you gotta be kidding." And I tell them straight out, research it. You'll find it, you know. But because they're all cut up in this world, the way the government wants us to, they're not gonna believe us at all. What can they tell your own children?
What I'm finding though is that more people are listening because they're seeing the effects of the vaccines and stuff like that and the chemtrails in us now. You know, before it was all, oh, that's a conspiracy and that's just a conspiracy theory. Okay, look around you. Please tell me why all these children have cancer all of a sudden. You know, it's not our DNA unless they've messed with our DNA, which I'm not ruling that out. But why does every child have asthma? Why are there so many learning disorders when it never used to be that way? Why are there so many children born with all of these health problems? Um, why does everybody end up with cancer and die? Um, you know, why do we have all these children that just have problems as they get older? You know, we have all these made up new syndromes that they're calling them, and it's really results of the things that they've done up to this point. Every child's been vaccinated, and we have so many kids that are diagnosed with ADD. There was no ADD when I was growing up. You know, it's a made up
Yeah.
syndrome to cover their butts for what they've done to us and our children. You know, how are there so many children born where they have to have surgery at birth? Why? You know, what are they
Hmm.
giving the moms? What did they give the moms up to the point of them giving birth? What's in these vaccines? What's in these shots they give
Exactly.
pregnant women?
Yeah, like they say, the epidurals, they want you to have it so bad. Why? That's it. I know that when that happens for me, to have children, I'm not gonna take it because I know a lot of what my aunts went through. But why push the epidurals? That's what I don't understand either. But they're pushing it so you can have a child when you're in labor.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Um, you know, I watched my daughter. I had two children, but seeing it and being there present and witnessing it is a little different. So I saw her go through a natural birth with an epidural. I watched her
Hmm.
go through a natural birth, 100% natural, nothing. It happened all
Hmm.
completely on its own. And I watched her be induced and the effects of how the different children, um, you know, came out and how their health and stuff. And she's had more problems with the one that's been induced and forced birth than any of them, you know.
Yeah. But if we
She had,
really think back, how they used to have the birth, having a child, they wrap themselves like the tribes. They wrap themselves in, two trees, or they are in their, what is it, TP they call,
uh,
and they're having just without nothing, no shots, no
mhm,
nothing, just
yep,
natural. And so now we have all these vaccines to have a child, which doesn't make sense.
exactly.
Or a vaccine for the child, like you said earlier, going to school, or when they're babies, every 2 months. Why every 2 months? The same old vaccines.
Right.
I know in the 60s when I studied it, in the 60s they only had like 30 something ingredients. Now, today, they have over 300, close to 400 ingredients. You imagine in one vaccine per
Oh, yeah,
child.
and they get sick. They get very, very
Mhm.
ill after those vaccines. You know,
Yeah.
after she had her epidural, she's had back problems ever since, and she's not very old. You know,
Mhm.
my daughter's young, and ever since that first epidural, she's had ongoing back problems. You know, injecting stuff
Mhm.
into our spine. You know, when I had
Exactly.
children, I would have swore it was a godsend, the epidural. But as I research into it and look more into it and see the effects of it, I don't. I mean, it's not. It's not. It's, you know, actually covering up
Exactly.
one of the most beautiful processes in the world, and it's harming us. Our
Mhm.
spine connects directly to our conscience. It goes straight up to our brain, you know, and that's our life force. You know, our oils run up and down our spine to open each chakra and to reach our pineal gland to give us our God connection, our Christ conscience. Some people call it.
Mhm.
I call it our
Yeah.
source connection. You know, and they're harming that. They're touching it. They're
Mhm.
going inside of it. You know that just now that I've learned what I've learned, that's doesn't it's not good. Stay out of there. Don't don't let people inject things into your bodily oils, you know, your spinal cord and your fluids.
You can see the difference when, especially when I was raised on a ranch, you can see the difference with the chickens to the GMO chickens. Totally different. And again, these chickens, they're still eating the seeds of the GMOs, but they're not injected with this GMOs. You know how
Right.
you have these big chickens, these big fruits and veggies. It's all GMO for
Mhm.
sure. But going back years, you had everything natural. You have natural chickens, cows, horses. Now they're eating hays that are seed GMOs. This is why you see all these pigs, cows are so big because they're injecting them with the GMOs, and they're eating GMOs as well. I don't live far from a farm that has a bunch of cows, and every day you can smell them. The what is it called? The soil type, what they do. I
Yeah.
don't know what is it?
Uh,
Manure. And
mhm.
but these cows, as I was growing, they weren't that big. Now I go by there if I'm on the bike or if I'm driving through there. You can see these cows. They're big cows, and like, whoa. And this is where all the GMOs are coming from. Our meats, our dairy, our fruit and veggies, everything.
Yeah.
And so,
And not to mention people that are vegetarian, you know, a little FYI, read the ingredients because the GMO factory I work at, you know, there's booklets of the ingredients in certain things, and people that think they're just buying, you know, vegetable oil, thinking, okay, this can go along, I can eat the fried foods, but I can still maintain my vegetarian. Well, it contains poultry and swine.
hmm
So people need to understand they really need to read the ingredients on their foods because you don't know what they're putting in there. And it might be listed in the very smallest of text somewhere on the back. But there is poultry and swine in vegetable oils. I promise you. The ones that come out of my factory, well, not my factory, but the factory that I contract in, yeah, there's poultry and swine in the vegetable oils and different vegetarian oils.
yeah, I agree. I
So
mean,
they're
gosh,
polluting the bodies that don't want polluted with meats anyway. They don't care about our personal choices.
very true. Very true. I mean,
So
you can't get away from it. One. Now, I have a question. What does your boss, the owner of this plant, about GMOs? Have you questioned them? Have you said anything
they're
to them?
unquestionable cats. The person who owns ADM is a very they're pretty high up in the status. I actually found a biography sitting around because there's one place that we have part of this factory, and it's the print shop of the whole deal. So I've actually found lots and lots of literature as I kind of walk through and do my little inspections on the buildings, and you know I've done my
Mhm.
peeking at the material, and the man that is the CEO, the original CEO of this company, was actually he would travel country to country and go and meet the leaders. You know, he's high up
Wow.
chain. He's not
Mm-hmm.
some little tiny guy that you can question. This place is stacked like the pyramids, the whole pyramid effect. The elite are at the top, the workers are at the
Mm-hmm.
bottom, and there's a few people in between, but they don't have a clue of what's going on. They're just processing numbers.
Exactly. Right.
It's all compartmentalized, and at the very top, you're not going to talk to those people. You're not going to get to know them. They have special housekeepers that come in and clean their offices. No one is allowed up there in their little suites and their areas unless they're actually accompanied by security. They have,
Right.
they actually just, we had to do a little construction clean, we call it, because they actually had this really weird room built up on the top of this place. And it was pushed back beyond the locker room. And it was just this little small room with nothing in it. And it was just really weird. And we kind of talked about it because we were like, what a weird thing to build. And, we did our cleaning and we got out, and security accompanied our people and they locked it up when they were done. It's just weird stuff. They're at the top. They're not,
Mm-hmm.
they are these elite. They are the elite.
Right.
These
Now,
guys are at the top of the chain.
now, when they send you another state one, is it to talk about GMOs or just to do your regular same old work?
No, I do my own same old work. When I went to other states, I actually went and worked in hospitals. And that's when I learned
Mm-hmm.
that the forced vaccinations are happening to be able to work permanently in these places, because they asked me, did I want to stay in Florida? I thought about it. Florida, hey, sunshine all the time, nice weather, never gets cold. But then I found
Yeah.
out that I would have to have forced vaccinations. I had to have a flu shot. I had to
Oh,
have another shot. I can't remember what it was, or they wouldn't even consider employment. And I'm like, no, no. I thought
yeah.
about it, and there's just no way that I could put poison in my body for a job. No. So I declined, and I even told them why, that I would not have forced vaccinations put on me, and you know, we left on good terms. And I came back home where it's actually the same. I found out because I looked into the hospitals here, thinking, okay, well, maybe Illinois is not like that. Oh yeah, it is. Forced vaccinations, no choice. Period. Some states you have a choice. I learned that the other night talking to people about this. I learned that some states have a choice where they can actually wear a mask or have the flu vaccination. So they either have to wear the mask the entire flu season, which is months. So they're making it very uncomfortable for you to not have the flu vaccination, but at least they have a choice. There's
Yeah.
not a choice in most places.
My God. There, there are good people out there fighting for, against these GMOs, and there's some that agree with these GMO because there's more money in their pockets. And doctors, you name them, they're part of this scheme, and we just have to have more information on it, do more research on it, do it for yourself, but do it for your family. They're the other generations that are coming up too. They're the most important in your life is your family, your children, grandchildren,
Hmm.
husband, whatever, at that time you have a boyfriend, girlfriend, who knows. But we're responsible for that, to bring this info to them, at least to the close ones that you love, and then move on to other people that are just normal people.
Yeah,
But we have to do our part, you know.
I agree.
It's
So,
like there's a saying, we need to be more wiser than them. There's less of them us to fight back. You know, so yeah. But what you do on the GMO plant. I mean, my heart, I applaud you because you're beginning to know what's really happening in these GMOs, like you said about the vaccine, and you're there for a reason, maybe to tell us what's going on as well.
Yep.
People
Expose
that,
it.
yeah.
That's how I feel about it. Expose it and
Mhm.
do it on the DL so that, I'm not trying to get myself in trouble. And I just want to tell people what I see. And what I see is disgusting. And we're eating it,
Right.
and it's not okay. I can't consent for this to just not at least get mentioned. I have to talk about it because it's disgusting and I can't even. I don't have enough words to describe the disgust every time I walk through that place. So I take little clips and try to do little illegal things to expose it a bit. Do my little
Yeah.
part to show people this is what it is, this is what it looks like, and this is what you're consuming because it's going
Exactly.
everywhere. Where I work, they bring in people from other countries twice a year. It's called Meat Week, and they actually bring in, other food processing companies from other countries as guests for a whole week, and they teach them and show them all of the research they've done for the last 6 months and how they can process their food more, get it to last longer, which is all of these ingredients that I read off earlier in the
Hmm.
show. That these are the things they're adding, the additives, and the to make the foods processed, and these are all the GMO ingredients. And
Hmm.
they do that twice a year. They bring them in, they pay for everything about them, and they teach them how to do it so they can take it home to their own countries and do the same thing to their foods.
Exactly.
This
Just
is
like,
worldwide. This
yeah,
company is huge.
mm, just like I mentioned about India, how the farmers were upset because they found out about the GMOs, and one suicide, she killed herself because what she found out, which it's sad. I mean, the United States, it seems like we're the ones that are bringing all this to other countries, which is sad. But it's not us personally, who lives in the United States. It's our government. People takes it, oh, they're Americans. No, it's our governments of all countries are behind it, 100%. So,
Yep. They're
you know,
all connected. They're all
yeah,
connected. You know, they're all the same, bloodlines that have been doing this for a long, long time. And they've just gotten really, really good at it. And we are just not educated.
starting.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're just starting to know all this.
Yep. It's
They
been
already,
hidden.
yeah, they're
This
ahead of
is
them,
this is
of
the
us.
occult knowledge that everyone speaks about. Occult is hidden. This is all the hidden information we are not given, we are not taught. So we can't fight against something we don't know about. So it's important to share this stuff and get the truth out there.
Yep. And I know there's other live chats that are speaking about this, but there should be more live chats speaking more about all these GMOs. What we talk, GMOs, the chemtrails, the fluoride, the vaccine. The more we speak it out, the more voices that are out there speaking, they'll listen to
Exactly.
us.
Exactly.
But unfortunately, the thing is that there's so much fear mongering out there that people don't want to speak, which is sad, you know.
Well, I don't consider it fear mongering. I consider it educating people. I like to do the live streams and actually interact with my people and talk to them
Hmm.
about these things because there's a lot of people that are woke up on a lot of different subjects. You just have to figure out how to connect with them. I had the stream the other day about vaccines, and there was a girl in there actually asking questions. She's like, "Do you think this is related to this?" And I told her, you know, just I'm trying to put out the information, and I would start asking
Hmm.
questions, and I would start asking why, how, why, how, and making these doctors sign off on consents that that they'll be held responsible if there's effects of these vaccines. If you do choose to vaccinate your children, it's your choice. That's the whole
Mhm.
point. It is your choice. But if you
Mhm.
choose that, make a consent form up, have it notarized, and make them sign
Exactly.
off that they will be held responsible, even if it's 20 years down the line, that there are effects that are listed on these side effects of these vaccines. Period. Make them responsible. And I bet you the number of forced
Mhm.
vaccinations will drop drastically if we start holding the actual doctors that are ordering this stuff responsible. If you want to follow suit with these insurance companies and big pharma, fine. But we're going to hold you responsible because you took the oath to say that you would look out for the well being of our health. And you are
Yeah.
telling us that this is healthy when you're lying. Period. Make them sign off, hold them responsible, see how many of them actually stop pushing these vaccinations if they decide, that. Sorry. Lost my train of thought and
Okay.
I'm done. Done ranting.
No, but I agree what you're saying and I know it's difficult for you to work in a plant of GMO. Very difficult because you only could do so much or say so much. But at least on the outside of the plant where you work, you're speaking about it. That's the main thing, that you're speaking it on the side. Um,
Yeah, because I can't talk
but
about it in there. They wouldn't
right,
answer questions. I don't even ask because I don't even want to draw attention to myself at all. Um, I'd be in a lot of trouble. I'd lose my job and then some. So,
yeah, it's true. I mean, there's been blower whistles or what is it called? They they
mhm,
s- they spoke about it, about the GMOs, the vaccines, the fluoride and the chemtrails. They spoke about it. They have proof. It's just they think we're crazy, right? They're making us, oh well, that crazy person is saying this and this and that. But they don't know
exactly.
what they're saying. In reality, we're as crazy people, we're saying the truth. And they're gonna put a title on our forehead that we're crazy, we don't know nothing.
Mhm.
You know, they're
Well,
lying with a
until
big
they
old
actually
L.
have a conversation with us, and then they start to relate. Like I said, having these live streams and talking about these very important things, people are coming through the stream, and then they're stopping and they're thinking, oh my God, that's happened to me. Oh, I have those symptoms. Oh, my child acts like that. Is this why? Is this why we have so many problems that we have to diagnose all these different ailments and put them on all kinds of different medications? And they really start to question it. And then they'll say something to someone else, and it's the ripple. We're putting out
Have
the
you?
ripple.
This is a question for you. One, maybe you'll know the answer. Now, do you think our medication, pharma, has GMOs? This is why we're gaining weight. This is why we're fatigued. This is why, our minds are thinking different way. The left brain to the right brain is so confusing each other. I mean, what do you think? I mean,
Well, that's one thing that is actually probably going to be one of my next subject is the big pharma and looking into different medications. But um, I think it's just the actual straight chemical. It's not
okay,
going through any of the crap of GMO, or it's the actual chemical that has these effects on us being put into these medications, and they know what these effects are. They've studied this stuff. Maybe they haven't published or done it as much as like the FDA wants, but a lot of these pills are just trial. They want to test us. We're test dummies. Let's see what this chemical does. Oh, that didn't work. Let's see what this chemical does. And the people that are, psychiatrically impaired, they are the worst with being the test dummies. Oh, my heart goes out to them. They have
mm-hmm.
so many different medications that they are put on and taken off and changed up. And here, let's raise the dose and let's lower the dose. And that didn't work. Let's try this. Their chemicals are completely out of whack. Our bodies run on
Exactly.
a very fine system, and it goes all the way back to the time and day you were born and stuff. And I learned that from Santos. He has some really good videos, and anybody can go check them out. That it goes all the way back to when we were born. We are, in our blood types, we need certain things, certain chemicals, and certain metals for certain types of people and blood types and DNA. It's very extensive, and they know all this. They've researched all this, but they're not going to tell us
Mm-hmm.
this. We have to find this stuff out for ourselves. So if
Mm-hmm.
you're a O positive blood type, say, you probably need a different metal than the person that's sitting there as an A blood type.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't tell us this. They're totally skewing up our chemicals. And the people that are on all
Mm-hmm.
these psychiatric drugs, I mean, their chemicals are completely overran with whatever it is the doctor decides, and then the effects of all those drugs. Oh my God. People commit suicide because they're taken on and off drugs. It totally messes
Exactly.
up their their balance in their brain, and that's exactly what it's doing.
Yep, I agree. Yeah, I was just thinking about the pharma because that's the biggest industry that is making so much money is
Hmm.
our the medications. One thing, blood pressure, you need a pill for that. If your cholesterol is high, you need a pill for that. I mean, everything goes on top of one to another, which is, that's the biggest problem there is right now too, is our pharma. Nobody speaks about a lot of that as well, the ingredients of each
Yep.
one.
Yep, and
Um,
look them up. Before the doctor tries to prescribe you something, go look it up and read what's in these things, and then read what are the effects on humans. Because, I mean, when I do this kind of research, I actually look up every ingredient of things like the chemtrails. Then I go and search each individual ingredient and what is the effect on a human. And
exactly.
and then you start to see the big picture because you're like, holy cow, that does that. Well, why the hell are they putting that in
Hmm.
there? And we're eating this
Exactly.
stuff and we're consuming it. That one of the very last times I went to a doctor and really trusted in any type of doctor is
Yeah.
I went for heart like palpitations, and I felt like I was really heavy in the chest. And instead of doing things that they probably should have done to check me out, they decided that I was depressed and wanted to prescribe me Prozac. They told me that I
Oh,
was having
wow.
anxiety attacks and that I needed a pill that would create happiness in my brain so that my brain could remember how to be happy. And this is what
Yeah.
that doctor told me. And I left, and I'm not taking a pill that's going to create a false happiness in my brain. Freaking sad, you're sad. But that wasn't
Yeah.
why I went there. I went there because my heart. And they instead were trying to put me on psychiatric drugs.
Wow.
That's how they
Yeah.
work now. Forget that.
Hmm.
Look into natural remedies. That's what I say. Meditation has done more for my anxiety than any pill could ever do.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I've been sick for a whole month. Oh my God, a little over a month. And I'm trying to shake it off, but it's been so hard. And I got antibiotics. It seems like the antibiotics is not even helping me. And
You need
I
to
just
fill up with
called.
probiotics. Are you eating your
Yeah,
probiotics?
yeah, I am.
Okay.
But
Okay.
since I was little, since I was born, I've been a sick baby. I weigh like 4 pounds, 11 ounces. So I've been a sick person because of my blood type. Again, going back to DNAs. But by the grace of, my father, he gave me his blood, transfusion. And I think that's why I was so close to my father. But, up to as an adult, I'm fighting still these kinds of infections, like antibiotics. My body doesn't intake it too well for some reason. But I always do my own soup, chicken soup, homemade. All my soup is homemade to get me going, to get better. But this month, let me tell you, it's been hard to get better. And it reminds me about 5 years ago when I remember I had mentioned I was sick and they said I had valley fever. I mean, my, let's see, yeah, valley fever. I feel the same way. And this is why I don't get better in a week. Just call me because I think he feels that I have it again. But if the valley fever it has the same symptoms as the chemtrails. So if we're eating GMOs and we have chemtrails, it's very hard for us, our system, to fight any kind of infection. It's very hard. I know friends that got the flu and they end up passing on. I mentioned that before too about a friend of mine. She was very young and she got an infection. She got the flu and she ended up passing on. Now, a lot of times, if we're not educated on GMOs and the chemtrails, then yeah, we're going to get a surprise, the family wise. Well, she had an infection and we couldn't do nothing about it. But it's because our system, our bodies cannot fight any kind of infections or whatever you're going through. We can't fight it because we have all that ugly, ugly stuff in our system. They're making us block the good, what is it? The good cells to fight the bad cells. I'm gonna
Yep.
mention it that way. So,
Yep. And that happens a lot.
yeah, very much a lot.
Yeah.
So it has an adult. If we can't fight it, imagine a child,
Or elderly.
you an
Someone
elderly.
who's,
Yeah.
past their working age and ready to
Hmm.
live their little quiet life. And, well, they can't because of all the stuff that's been done up to that point to them. So they pass away early, right about the time that they would be able to sit back and relax when the
Hmm.
government doesn't want us anymore because we're not productive citizens in their eyes.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I remember because I work with elderlies. When I have chance, I go and see them. And there's a gentleman. His name is Richard, and he's almost 90. And I asked him, "How do you do it to live that long?" And he said, "Just a lot of exercising and eating right." So I mentioned the GMOs. I mentioned about chemtrails. He doesn't believe me because he's too much brainwashed, too much lied to about our own what's happening now. And he's 89. He should know better, right? But he's totally lost in that. He doesn't believe what I'm saying. So I gave him a link, and I don't know if he done it or what, but there's also other elderlies that are over 90 that they know what's happening. And they take care of themselves, they exercise, but they're still sick. And they know the reason why. There's some that do and there's some that don't. And they're hard headed, their ego's in the way, their pride. They they don't want to hear the truth, basically. And it's sad to see the elderlies like this too.
Yeah,
My heart goes out to them.
it's true. And they think we don't know what
Okay.
we're talking about and that the government wouldn't do such a thing to us, you know. So, in one aspect, with the older
Hmm.
people, they've, brainwashed them and it didn't used to be like this, so therefore they're not seeing how bad things have really gotten and that we, the youth, are now the leaders and that they don't think we have any idea what we're talking about. They still believe in government and stuff like that. And, I would like to do that, but government isn't really out for us anymore. They're out for whatever agenda they're told to follow.
Hmm. There's also elderlies that you learn from them big time. Like I said before, how to grow, how to provide for your family, how to live on the land. They know. And I ask them questions like, explain what you did when you were young. And they do go back. This is why they have Alzheimer's, and because they don't want you to remember what growing up. That's another part of it that they want you to have is Alzheimer's, not to teach your family, your nieces, nephew, grandkids, your children, none what you know. And this is where it kicks in with the Alzheimer's. And it's sad because they're trying to finish everything that they were taught by their parents and their grandparents. Like the tribes, they're losing their culture, they're losing the way of living. Why? Because there's so much into this world that they're forgetting everything as well. So we just always have to remind ourselves this is what I was taught, this is what my grandparents said. It's you got to yourself what they taught you.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, GMOs is a very good topic to talk about. All the other ones too, like going back on flat Earth. I'm done with flat Earth. This is what we were saying earlier. One that we need to move on. Our focus right now is with the immigrants coming. They gotta run out of the caravan. They want us to focus on that. They want us to focus on the bomb. They want us to focus on the fire. They want us to focus because their agenda is just, they're already planning the agenda. They say, okay, let's get these people focused on this part. Meanwhile, we're focusing on this part. See,
Right.
and this is where I went back to politics lately and hearing what I used to hear because I want to know what's going on. What's their agenda? Trying to connect the dots to what they're doing now and what their agenda is. And we need to be on top of that, let me tell you, because we'll be surprised when it's behind us and say, guess what, this is going to happen. And you're going to say, wait a minute, why didn't know about it? I was focusing what's happening with the fire and all this other stuff, but yet I'm not hearing this part. This is why it's very important to know what your government are doing, what they're planning, and what the laws are passing. You gotta just be on top of it because they'll be just, you know, blind. We'll be lied to. We'll be, still be in the dark instead of seeing the
Right.
light. So yeah,
And what
it's
I've just stepped away from the entire most of the community because no one really wants to, learn how this world works. They just want to have fun streams and everybody hang out, and they don't want to talk to their viewers. No one wants to listen to ideas. Um, and most of the time I found when I would go into any streams that a lot of the people are very rude. Flat earthers are
mhm,
rude, and they're so stuck on the fact that they want to be right that they don't want to
mhm,
listen to anything that anybody else has to say. They just want to be the most popular. Um, so I've moved beyond that into how does it work? You know, how can we
mhm,
prove that this is how it works? And all of the topics that lead and are related 100% to flat Earth, such as the chemtrails and giving the old people Alzheimer's and trying to wipe out any knowledge of past to be shared and passed on to the younger generations. If they take
mhm.
away a generation or two, you lose tons and tons of knowledge and information that's pertinent to knowing the truth about our world. It goes deeper, and no one wants to go deeper.
Exactly.
So I just do my own thing. I don't go and occupy myself with the streams and this and that, and if that means that they don't come to my streams, that's fine. But there are people that do want to
My
hear this stuff, and there's people that want to talk about this stuff, and there's people that want to learn about this stuff because they're facing the consequences of this stuff, and they have no idea why. They don't even know why their
mhm,
children are like this. They don't know why their parents have Alzheimer's and can't remember who they are, and stuff like that. They don't know why they have to go to the doctor every other week because of all these internal intestinal problems, having cancer and being sick, having allergies that just develop out of nowhere. They don't even know why. And That's where I'm at. The whys.
Mm.
This is why they lie. This is why they're poisoning us. And this is how it all relates. And that's where I'm at with this whole movement.
Exactly. I agree.
So
But, as an adults, we need to be on top of what's going on with both politics and this world because it all connects. Everything connects.
it's
And
all
our
connected.
governments, our governments around the world, not just United States, but all governments, they know the agendas. The United Nations, they're the ones who's behind all this chaos that's happening now.
Yes, these
Real
few
time.
are taking all of the countries.
Mm-hmm.
They're making people conform, and as they get it taken over, they're employing this agenda.
Yeah,
Whoops.
and some of us we can be involved without you knowing,
Hmm.
you know. So yeah,
Yeah, because it's all compartmentalized. The higher up you go, the more they know, and only a
mm-hmm.
few know the total truth and see the full agenda.
Exactly,
And the lower you are, the less you know. Believe me, when you work, you go around all these different places and you see one person doing this job. And the things that I study, I can look at the screens and I have a kind of good idea of what's going on. So I go into all these different rooms and I see all these different screens of different people looking at different things and they're watching this one thing and they have no idea what Joe Schmo's doing over in the next office on his screen. And when you see them all, you can put together the fact that this is an entire operation and no one has a clue of what the other person is doing because they just have them compartmentalized. So, somebody at the top, though, is overseeing all of this and they see the entire process and what's happening with this world. Someone's controlling it. It's a very small few. And then
exactly.
people like a few people around, there's a lot of people around. They look into so many different subjects that they get it. They're like, holy cow, it is all related. You know, this is why this is happening, and this is why they're doing this, and this is what they're doing here. And it's all in the agenda to wipe out truth and keep truth from us that we're created. And our Creator put us here to protect us and love us. They take God out of society, source, and
Right,
they have
right.
chaos and they have turmoil and people fighting against each other.
Yeah, it's it's so just so sad about our food supply. You
Yeah,
know, because we need our food supply, but I don't want to go keep eating GMOs, right? It's terrible. But let me
right.
see. I'm trying to find something that I found. The cotton, even our cotton, our clothing has GMOs, you guys. So that's another thing. Is our clothing also has GMO. So it's sad. So if anybody buys new clothes, make sure you wash them before you put them on you. It has, because of the dye. The dye is also chemicals that it's also touching our bodies, our skin.
Yeah,
So,
buy hemp.
hmm I didn't know this until I started to look into more stuff, and I found out, I'm like, what? I was, you gotta be kidding. So now I washed all my new clothes. I don't, nothing. I don't wear anything that it's new. There's no way. The chemical that's in there, our makeup has a lot of chemicals um, that you bring cancer to your skin. Um, so I mean, there's so much out there. One that we're not really know about really
Exactly.
until you investigate and research it and put your hours like you do. You and FPV put a lot of hours. I mean, there's so much that we can learn from each other. um, off the internet. It's like, the internet swords. There's a, double sword, they call it. Good things, and the other part you find bad things. And that's the way our government thought, oh, well, we're going to control people. They're not going to know the truth. But guess what? The truth is coming out through the internet. So it's a two double sword. So I
Exactly.
don't know.
All right. Well, I'm going to finish this up if that's all
Yeah.
right. I'm going to grab some
No.
lunch.
Yeah, it was awesome to talk GMOs. I mean, I'm glad everybody showed up, even those that you guys that are in the chat room, those that I met in the other live chats. Thank you for coming, supporting this channel. Um, but Juan, can you put your link out there and FPVs just so those that haven't subbed to your channels that they would?
Yeah.
Oh, saying subscribe anymore. You'll get in trouble. So you have to say support. You know, that's what they
I
want.
know. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
So.
true. All right.
Mhm.
So there's mine. Let me go get FPVs. Sandra's in the chat. She's got some really good videos.
Oh yeah, that's right. She does. She does good
Hmm.
job. Like good jobs on
There's
her.
a lot of channels that have a lot of good stuff. You know,
Mhm.
I would just suggest there's FPVs. So,
Hey Brian. uh, Hi
so
Dread.
yeah. So I'm gonna hop off
But
and I'm gonna,
before
yes.
you leave, one,
Uh-huh.
I know that you and I and FP were talking about way back. Um, days back. I'm gonna say when we're gonna do an update on your guys' research. Hopefully it's soon, so people can be aware when it's coming.
Yep.
Um,
Well, I'm off
but
today and I'm off tomorrow evening, but I work tomorrow during the day. I'm picking up some overtime
yeah,
or
yeah. So,
whenever.
oops, I took off Sandra off of mod. Sorry, Sandra. Wasn't my intention. Um,
Bad Sandra. Just kidding.
yeah, I know. Dread, I'm trying to hold on before we leave. Let
Okay.
some of these people back on. Mm, if I can, if it lets me. Here it goes. But it was a good talk. I'm glad that we talked about GMOs. But again, you all, if you're a flat earther, move on. Just move on to other topics that it's very important for us.
It's
Hold on,
evolve. Let them
Sandra.
evolve and find out the roots of these things and why the lie and how it all relates. Because there's way more out there than trying to prove that the sun and moon are above us or below us or any of that, you know. It's deep. It goes way back and that's how we have to move on.
Sorry, Sandra. I'm trying so hard to get you back on. Okay, I got it. Oh my God, how embarrassed. Sorry, Sandra.
Poor
But
Sandra.
yeah, I'm glad we had this hangout, the GMO. Like I said, there is more information out there, the causes, how to protect yourself, what's in our, what kind of GMOs are in our food, basically. Just look at the labels and it says GMO, don't buy it. So,
Exactly. And look at the labels,
so
read the different ingredients at the beginning. There's a whole list of different ingredients that are going to show you that these are GMO foods that I read. And look into it
yeah,
yourself. Copy the list, get a picture, and take it to the store with you.
yeah, really. Yes, Brian. You guys check out Brian Knight's videos. He has good videos about GMOs and other topics. I know Brian way back when I first started YouTube. So Brian Knight and I with FPV. Well, really with me because we Gent, which is what is it? Golden State Times. We started with him, um, and now he's grown so much. I remember he had a few people, and now he's into. If I'm correct, Brian, correct me. He's over 136,000 people now. So he's growing big time, and he does all the politics movement with Trump and against the Dems and stuff. So check out his channel. He has good videos, Brian Knight. So, but anyways, but I appreciate all you guys coming. I know I gotta get going, so does one.
Yep.
But again, hopefully we have another hangout, you guys, and be here with
Absolutely.
us. So yeah,
Anytime you
and
want,
nice to.
cats.
And when I have time, it's very
Right, I
hard when I
know.
have time.
You're busy. I know. And our
Yeah.
schedules conflict because we're out a couple hours apart. Not as bad as the UK, but still, even being a couple hours apart does make a difference. It's hard to get together at the same time.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks, Brian. We're all trying to grow our channels. But everybody, make sure you click on those two links because one does come live, and so does FPV, and so do I. But click on those and support their channel. But anyways, I'm gonna get going, guys. All you guys be careful out there. Stay safe. Get away from the GMOs as much as you can. The chemtrails. I know it's hard, but try to. FPV is always saying, "Cats, wear a mask," because I'm constantly like out in out. So I have to. But anyways, thank you all. Honestly, thanks with all my heart for supporting this channel.
Yep. Thank you.
All right, we'll talk to you guys all later and take care. If I don't talk to you guys, happy Thanksgiving.
Yep. Bye bye.
Well,